Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Going to talk to you today on one of the concepts threads of bugging out. But first, our day. It's early. It's cold. The frost is on the pumpkin. Sister Kate was up again last night with her bad back, and she thinks that it may be a kidney stone. So for those of you who pray, if you could please pray for her, that would be cool. For those of you who don't, you can think happy thoughts. Okay, I just watched a very good video by Bear Independent. I think it's his latest one, called something SHTF caches or something like that. And it was a different treatment on the subject, and it's important, and he did a really good job on it. And so if you haven't seen it, you should go see it. Bear Independent is his channel. And then I was reading through some of the comments, and someone from England, Jolly Old, made a comment about they can't conceive of bugging out more than about 50 to 100 miles, because if they went 400 miles on a bug out, they'd be at the other end of England. Something like that. You know, England's a country of once former greatness that ruled the seven seas, and it's as big as one of our states, right? It's not that big. And I want to address that. Bugging out. Where should you bug out to? Because this person said there were lots of places in the country and fields and moors or whatever, I'm paraphrasing, within like around 30 miles or so. I have to hit this over and over and over again because so many people just refuse to get it. And I think it's because they don't want to. You know, it's like, you're not the boss of me, or I can't hear you, because they don't like contemplating bad things. I'm just trying to decide what order. I'm just going to start putting out these concepts, and hopefully they lock in. Number one, your plan A in the event of a disaster, chaos reigns in the land, should be what? What's plan A? When chaos reigns and the zombies be walking around and stuff. Stay at home. Plan A should be stay at home. If you live in a terrible place and if zombies be walking around your neighborhood, you gonna die. You need to move now while you can. Do you know you can keep the same job, unless you're like somewhere like New York City or LA or something like that. You can keep the same job you have, except a longer commute, and live in a much better place. There's a concept for you. So plan A should be stay home. And if the place you live in now is going to be untenable, you already know it is, so you're tempted to make plan A bug out, that's a horrible plan. Your chances of dying are high if you do that. So plan A should be to stay home. Now, you still have to have a bug out plan. And your bug out plan is when, despite your best efforts at staying home in the perfect place, it becomes untenable for whatever reason. I mean, we could list 1,000 reasons. And now you have to flee your bug out location. People who live in situations like I do, off-grid or, at least out in the boonies, with their critters and their goats and their wells, and they've poured their life, blood, and finances into it, they frequently make comments, well, we've already bugged out. No, you haven't. You're living at home. Now you need a bug out plan for when home becomes untenable. And when home becomes untenable, whatever makes your place unlivable, going 30 miles away from that is not going to help you very much. The gas cloud, the invading army, the pandemic flu, the martial law's been declared, the forest fires ravaging the countryside, the blah, 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 blah. If you only go 30 miles, I used to run 30 miles every Saturday. Every Saturday I'd go run 30 miles. That's not far. I almost made the comment to the person's comment on the Bear Independent, I can't imagine 100 miles, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I used to run 100 miles in one day. I only did it a few times, but I've done it a few times. 100 miles is not far. I've carried a rucksack well over 100 miles many times. Not in one day, but it's not far. Free your mind, and the rest will follow. The thing is, when you've got to bug out from where you are, you need to get away from that region, that locale. And region is a big word. And again, it means what people identify it as meaning. It could be your neighborhood region, I guess. So region is probably too big of a word, though. But like if you live in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., if you live in Nova, and, well, first of all, that's not a good place to live. So that doesn't work. Let's say you live in West Virginia and you take the long commute into work every day in Northern Virginia, D.C. area. You're commuting a couple hours a day each way. People do that. Oh, yes, they do. And then things happen and you're at home in West Virginia and all of a sudden it spreads to where you are. Bugging out to the other side of the mountain that you're living on the side of, it's not going to work for you. You're going to have to go further. Go up into Pennsylvania, go down into the Shenandoah Valley, or whatever. Go into eastern Ohio. You're going to have to move your body. So think about that. You need to develop a bug out locations that are far away from your primary place. Fairly far. And then, yes, you're going to have to contemplate how you're going to get there. This person said, I'm just using them as a foil for a video. I don't even remember if it's a man or a woman. So if you're here on Patreon, which I doubt, but if you're here, don't take it personally. Thank you for the ideas. And I may take your words out of context. That's okay. It's not about me and you. It's about me and the idea, expressing it to y'all. 100 miles is not far. I would say, honestly, you should probably plan on bugging out at least a 3-hour drive in today's conditions away. That should get you out of the danger zone for most things. About a 3-hour drive away or more. So, think about when you go to Viking meetups, you drive 3 hours outside of that radius, right? And then your bug out place that you plan to bug out to should be as developed and ready to receive you. Tie back into Bear's video on capabilities caches or something, capabilities kits, he said. Whatever. You should have stuff there that, you plan on arriving in your Tahoe, pulling a horse trailer filled to the gills with supplies, and your wife is driving the, I don't know what you people drive anymore, the Toyota that's also packed to the gills, and your teenage daughter's driving a third vehicle that's packed to the gills, and you guys come rolling into your bug out location, ready to go. Right. Good plan. You could also come straggling in with no shoes on your feet. That's how you ended up making it because of the adventure you had on the way. But you're here. So when you get there, deciding that we need to go kill a deer, skin it, tan its hide, and make moccasins because it's starting to get cold on my little feetsies, that's not a good plan, right? You should have stuff at your bug out location that's more than 30 miles away from where you currently are. And I got the impression that this person in England, and I could be totally wrong, but I got the impression that their plan A was to bug out. Something bad happens, they're going to leave the house. And they were going to go 30 miles away, and that would be good. Well, if it's your bug out location is 30 miles away from where you live now, and that's your plan A, which is a bad plan, why don't you just move there now and commute an extra 30 miles a day? Doesn't seem to me to be a big deal. Get on the A1. Whatever. Yeah, and you know why it's a bad idea to plan to bug out as plan A, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe I haven't been clear on that because I assume things that I know that everybody else knows. When there's chaos about, what you want to do is batten up the hatches. I did a pretty good video. The first 10 things or 5 things you should do when Tiawaki starts or something. Maybe I'll reshoot that video for Patreon. But there are immediate actions you should take. You should actually have these immediate actions written down. When all of a sudden, you found out, oh, they just nuked Colorado, Chicago, and DC, whatever. What do we do? Your first action shouldn't be to load your meager possessions into whatever vehicle you have and try to get to your bug out location. You need to batten down the hatches, call the settlers into the fort, lock the gates, man the guards, double up the patrols. That you got to do those things. You ain't got time to be messing around trying to flee the chaos with everybody else. Panicked people. Stay home. Let the idiots kill each other off for a couple weeks. Then you can poke your head up and look around. All right, I'm interested in your comments. I know many of you have thought about things like this. And I do not claim to have all the answers. And I learn stuff from y'all. I love it when somebody has an idea that makes me go, that's a pretty good idea. So, think about that. But your bug out location has to get you away from whatever it was that made you bug out in the first place. Does that make sense? It's got to get you outside of that bubble. Move. All right. I'll see you out there.